Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, March 4th, and for our morning brew today, hopefully we got some good stories. Let's get into it. The Nasdaq is down 1.56%, S&P down 0.53, Dow down 0.29, the 10-year down 3.3, Bitcoin is down 3.7, and Tesla is down 4.61. Interesting seems to be a slight dip in the market today, but let's read on and find out why. Markets. Big tech led markets lower yesterday as more earning reports rolled in. The February jobs report also drops this morning. Analysts expect the U.S. economy to have added about 400,000 new jobs last month, which is good. Ukraine. Scary scenes last night as Russian forces shelled Europe's largest power plant and sparked a fire. The facility was secured, Ukrainian officials later said. Meanwhile, Ukrainian and Russian leaders reached a deal to establish humanitarian corridors for the delivery of goods and to allow civilians to be evacuated. Experts are warning that the escalating war in Ukraine could lead to an energy debacle, the likes of which we haven't seen in decades. Oil prices have skyrocketed to their highest levels in 10 years over concerns that supply could dry up from Russia, one of the world's biggest oil exporters. The rise has been sharp and sudden. 1 week ago, at the dawn of the war, U.S. oil prices were at $92. As of last night, they hovered around $109. That's a big price jump. Yo. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a thing, the likes of which we haven't seen in decades. Western leaders have so far treated the energy issue with caution. While they've effectively vaporized the Russian economy with a barrage of sanctions, they've deliberately spared Russian energy companies from the worst of the penalties, such as booting them from the global messaging service SWIFT. I heard about that. I didn't look too much into it, but I heard that it was a potential option, was booting them from SWIFT. So we might learn more about it today. If not, Google that on your own and see if you can learn more about it. That's because Europe's hands are tied with respect to Russian energy. The EU relies on Russia for 40% of its gas consumption, which is used for critical things like heating homes and powering businesses. And unlike the US, which could replace lost Russian gas with supplies from Mexico and Canada, Europe doesn't have many fallback plans. Despite the carve-outs, however, Russian energy exports have slowed dramatically since the war began. Because of the sanctions on financial institutions and the toxic status of Russian companies in general, about 70% of Russian crude oil exports can't be touched. Energy analyst Amrita Sen told CNBC. What that could result in, said IHS Markit Vice Chairman Daniel Yergin, is the worst crisis since the Arab oil embargo and the Iranian Revolution in the 1970s. It's never a good sign when your energy situation is compared to the 1970s. That was when OPEC cut off oil exports to the U.S. for helping Israel in the Arab-Israeli War of 1973, which led to soaring prices and stagflation when inflation soars but economic growth slows. Given that I don't know much about this kind of stuff, even I'm kind of like, okay, this is starting to sound like a pretty drastic situation at the moment. Looking ahead, despite the consequences to their economies of cracking down on Russian energy, Western governments might decide that funding Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine is even worse. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said yesterday that she's all for a ban of Russian oil, and President Biden said nothing is off the table. As for Europe, where this catch-22 hits home the most, leaders are discussing contingency plans if Russia supplies were to dry up completely. Bottom line, while we don't know how exactly this crisis will play out, we do know that Europe's relationship to energy will be forever changed. Yeah, definitely agree. I think Europe's relationship with everybody will be forever changed after this. It's not like this will end and then things will go back to normal. No, this is going to settle into Russia for quite a while. World news: mass exodus from Ukraine. In just over a week since Russian troops invaded Ukraine, over 1 million people, more than 2% of the population, have fled the country, a majority of them heading to neighboring Poland to stay with friends, family, or kind strangers, according to the UN. The UN Refugee Agency said the war could potentially lead to as many as 4 million refugees. More Russian boycotts. The International Paralympic Committee is banning Russian and Belarusian athletes from competing in the Games, which start today. Retailers IKEA and TJX stopped business operations in Russia. And McKinsey facing pressure from current and former staff, is halting existing work with state-owned companies and won't take on new clients in Russia. Yeah, Russia's kind of screwed, as I said before. You want the moon? I'll crash into the moon. 3 tons of space junk is about to hit the moon today, harder than turning 30. Most experts think the rubble came from a Chinese launch almost 10 years ago. China has denied this claim. We won't know the extent of the damage for a few weeks, since the impact will happen just out of the view of telescopes. But what we do know is that the junk will hit the far side of the moon around 7:30 a.m. at 5,800 miles per hour, make a 33 to 66 foot hole, and give Neil deGrasse Tyson something to say. NFT news. NFTs aren't just for late-night talk show hosts anymore. Ukraine is planning to release its own collection of non-fungible tokens to support its troops defending against invading Russian forces, making it one of the first countries to release NFTs. Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister Mykola Fedorov announced the plan on Twitter, writing, "Every day there are more and more people willing to help Ukraine to fight back. We will announce NFTs to support Ukrainian armed forces soon. It's the latest initiative in Ukraine's crypto-friendly fundraising campaign. 50 million worth of crypto has been donated to the nation in the past week. A 200,000 CryptoPunk wearing a blue bandana was sent to Ukraine's wallet Tuesday." That's crazy. And it kind of solidifies my stance from yesterday that crypto is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I'm a little iffy on NFTs at the moment because I believe there's a lot more to them than just pictures of like JPEGs that people can copy and stuff. I believe there's a lot more depth to them than people realize, but in the moment it's kind of scammy, I guess, if that makes sense. But in terms of crypto as a whole, it's helped Ukraine tremendously. Like it says there, 50 million of worth of crypto has been donated to the nation in the past week. Like, think about that. It just donated. No need for Russian banks, no need for Ukraine banks. They've just been donated to people or to the nation as a whole. It's super nice and super easy. An additional 270 million has been raised in war bonds, a Web 0 security used by nations to raise funds during wartime. In the same tweet, Fedorov also said Ukraine was canceling its hyped airdrop rewards. In crypto, an airdrop is a token giveaway typically used to encourage adoption, or, in this case, donations. Ukraine announced the airdrop as a reward to donors on March 2nd. Leading to additional millions in crypto being donated to the country before it was scrapped a day later. Some critics are calling the besieged country's sudden cancellation a rug pull. The architect behind El Salvador's Bitcoin bonds tweeted, "War is not an excuse to shitcoin." Key performance indicators. Stat at 105.5 meters or 346 feet below street level, the Arsenalna station in the Kyiv metro system is the deepest subway station in the world. It takes about 5 minutes to ride down from the street. Kyiv's ornate subway stations have become safe havens for residents during the Russian bombardment. As many as 15,000 people are sheltering there, according to the city's mayor. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urged Vladimir Putin to sit down with him to talk, but not at one of his notoriously long tables. Not a joke. I've seen those pictures online and he's like at that very end of the table with everyone like sitting at the very other end. It's really weird, but I get it, but I don't at the same time. Quote, "I don't want Ukraine's history to be a legend about 300 Spartans. I want peace." Ask, we discussed above how Western leaders are debating whether to ban all Russian energy exports. Do you support a ban? Write in the comments if you support it, yes or no, and why. What else is brewing? Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin, reached a new $6 billion settlement for its role in the opioid crisis. State of the Unions, Elon Musk invited the United Auto Workers to hold a vote at Tesla's CA factory. A second Amazon warehouse in Staten Island will hold a union election, and REI workers at a store in NYC voted to unionize. Reddit is banning its users from sharing links to Russian state-sponsored media outlets, and retailers are warning of business disruptions and uncertainty following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Yeah, at this point, it's pretty obvious. Russia has made itself an enemy of pretty much every country around the world. They invaded Ukraine, but They also invaded the mind of social media. And that'll do it for today's morning brew. I don't know for sure if I'll be getting an episode out tomorrow or Sunday, because I work the weekends, and it just depends on when the Morning Brew site updates its articles, because if they update it too late in the morning, I will already be sleeping and I'll have to miss that day. But if they post it earlier on in the morning, I can totally record it, get one out. But with that being said, hopefully we can do it on the weekend. If we can't, expect one Monday. So with that being said, thank you all for joining, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.